Almost there. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Rebel Roundtable on this lovely Friday morning in July. And I am so excited. First of all, I'm Jen Lee, aka Rebel Esquire, but I'm super excited that I have Lael Sturm here from Ogmentor and telling us all about how we should be outsourcing and using virtual assistants. But Lael, do a quick introduction and tell us about Ogmentor.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Jen. So Ogmentor is a virtual assistant agency. So what we do is we recruit and we train and we onboard and then we stay on and manage remote overseas assistants. I have to be careful when I say virtual assistants in this day and age. People think, oh, is it a robot? It's not AI. It's actually humans
Okay.
overseas who are supporting, mostly North American and Western European businesses, law firms and small businesses and large consulting and coaching firms and you name it, anybody who needs an extra pair of hands. We tend to specialize in marketing support, sales support, and admin support. But those tend to run together. Typically, we'll place an assistant who can handle, a little bit of all of that, and it's a custom fit. So we're trying to solve the problem that the client actually has.
So you have an interesting background because you came from like an agency, like a marketing agency side of things, right? And then you saw this need out there. How did that journey work out? How did you determine that this was the place to go?
Yeah, so yes, I was running a marketing agency for a long, long time, and it was a good business, and we outsourced our back office. So we had admin support, and we had marketing support, and we had sales support overseas. We experimented with a bunch of different countries, but ultimately ended up in the Philippines because fluent English, high education level, really thoughtful, caring culture. So we found that was the best place for us to recruit from. So I had a good sized team of people in the Philippines. And when the pandemic hit, things got tough for the marketing agency world.
Mhm.
And I found myself with, more team than revenue is kind of how I would say it.
Okay.
And so I thought, how can I deploy this team in a way that's going to keep me in business through the pandemic? And what we started doing was lending out our assistants on a part-time basis. Like, hey, maybe take a couple hours of this person's time to help you clear some of the backlog. They'll do some prospecting for you. They'll follow up with the leads in your CRM. And enough clients came back and said, wow, this is kind of cool. Like we hadn't thought about outsourcing marketing or even admin really, but now everybody's working from home. Everything is on Zoom. This is making a lot of sense to us. So they said, could you help us hire somebody like this full time?
Mhm.
And we said, yes, for sure. That's our new service offering.
Yes, we're going to
So
pivot to
right.
that.
Yes, that's
Sure.
exactly what we were thinking. So it turned into this sort of opportunity presented itself, and fortunately, I was in a position to pivot into it, and ultimately that business grew at a pace that was much brisker than the marketing agency, even when things started opening up again. And ultimately, we separated them out, and Augmentor became its own standalone brand, and that's what we do now.
And I love the name. We were talking about this earlier, but Augmentor is, you augment, you add on, and that's where the brand came from. I love the imagery almost of that. It's kind of like an add-on to your firm. So it's cool.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Good, good marketing, which I would expect from someone who's in marketing.
Right. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So I have like lots and lots of questions, but the one thing, because I like to tell lawyers where they're failing a lot of times. Um, the most common thing I hear when I talk about virtual assistants and outsourcing and delegation and that kind of thing, there's two like main themes that come in. One is I have no idea what I should even be delegating or what I could outsource. Do you
Yeah.
have any tools for that?
Yeah. So the tool that I have is super high tech. It's a paper notebook. Um,
Great.
we give these out at conferences and events and things. But you can use any paper notebook. Don't use the notes app on your phone. because you will forget about it after 1 day of use. So
Yep.
that's no value. So what we recommend people do is every day, not every day, start with 1 day, just write down every single thing you do, everything. So right now I would write down, webinar with Jen. And then after this, I would write down, check my email. And then I might write down, get another cup of coffee. And then I might write down, resize the image to post to LinkedIn. And then I might, so throughout your day, you're just writing every single thing down, which is a colossal pain in the ass. I have to tell you that. This is not a fun exercise. But if you do it all day for 3 or 4 or 5 days in a row, you're going to have a really good list of everything you're busy with. And then what you do is you go through and you put a star next to anything that somebody else could have done for you.
Mhm.
So nobody else could do this for me. This is between me and you. I have to show up and do this broadcast with you. But somebody could resize the image to post it to LinkedIn. I don't have to do that myself. So when you have a list of things to outsource, that's the appropriate time to hire somebody to do that work. And I'll just make one more,
Yep.
kind of one more angle here when we're talking about lawyers specifically. If you're charging your clients $500 an hour, and you spend an hour resizing an image to post it to LinkedIn, that's the most expensive, graphic design work you could possibly get. If somebody were to say to you, okay, I'm going to resize the image for LinkedIn, that'll be $500. There's no way you would say yes to that, but actually you are saying yes to it every single day because you're doing $20 an hour tasks at your $500 an hour billable rate. And don't even get me started if you're charging $1,000 an hour or more. But, we all know attorneys who are,
Yeah.
and they're busy with admin tasks or marketing tasks.
And what I see is they won't charge for that time. So then it's zero bill, like they don't get any time for it because they can't put resized image for LinkedIn on an invoice and charge for it. And so now they're just working for free for tasks that they could outsource and be doing billable hour work if that's how they're unfortunately billing. The other path that I go down is first, like, I don't even know where to start with. And I know you have an ebook too, don't you? That has like
Yes.
outsource. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wrote a book with over 100 tasks to outsource.
Yep.
And it's a free download. It's on the website, ogmentor.com. Just click the link that says free book and you can download it. And it's a reference. It's not a beach read. You're not going to, pour yourself a drink and put your feet up with this thing. But what it is it's segmented into categories, sort of, business areas. So if you're thinking, what marketing tasks can I ask my assistant to help me with, or what HR tasks could I ask my assistant to help me with, or what accounting and bookkeeping tasks can I ask my assistant to support me with? It's all in there, and it's digital, so you're not exactly flipping through, but you flip to the section that's appropriate for you, and you think, oh, I hadn't thought to ask my assistant to reach out to podcasters that are influential in my space and see if they can get me scheduled. I hadn't thought to ask my assistant to look at conferences in this new demographic that we're trying to go after. These ideas are in there.
Yeah, it's a tool to get you to think about the things because
Right.
our brains just kind of shut down and you think of either very traditional things or you can't think of anything. So it's a great tool. I have the download. So thank you. Okay. Now shifting to the other path that happens after they've figured out that they can delegate or that they've tried this. I get all the time. I tried outsourcing and it was a disaster. It was horrible. I'll never do it again.
Yeah. That's super common. I hear that every day. People have had bad experiences, and I don't minimize that. It's totally real. And actually, I've had bad experiences too. So this is going to happen. So one of the paths to outsourcing is going on one of these talent marketplaces and just hiring somebody and sort of hoping for the best. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't work. But more often than not, people's bad experiences come from that universe, or they hire an agency who is not doing great work or is not responsible. And frankly, it's one of the easiest things for us to distinguish ourselves on. We have a managed model. And what that means is that anytime we place an assistant, we also assign a manager on our side who's a point of reference for the client, that if things aren't going right, they can go to the manager and the manager can take responsibility for it. We document processes. So every day the assistant submits an end of day report. Here's what I did. Here's what I did not do. Here's what I need help with or coaching on or approval on, especially if they're posting stuff to social media on your behalf. You want to sign off on that stuff before it goes out. Our model is actually informed by what we learned in the marketing world, which is we're not selling the placement. We're not, you're not hiring us because you need more people on your team. You're hiring us because you actually want specific things to get done. And if you don't see the results from those things, you're not going to keep working with us. And we don't expect you to. Like, honestly, we don't even have long-term contracts. It's all month to month because our goal is to deliver results every single month to the point where you wouldn't dream of leaving. You wouldn't dream of it. So, that's the level that we hold ourselves to.
Yeah.
If you've had a bad experience, come to us and let's have a good experience.
And what I see from my side when I'm working with law firms and different organizations is a lot of times the bad experience, either they didn't vet properly, they didn't have the right, or the law firm has zero processes documented. They have zero ways to train. They just threw something out there and then they were disappointed that the person either couldn't figure it out or didn't even have access to the systems they need. And so I think some of that goes hand in hand with okay, what are you outsourcing? And does your firm have a system for it? What access do people need? And then be able to hand that off to Ogmentor to be able to handle the process. So
yeah, and frankly, that's another advantage of the managed model is that we've done this thousands of times. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to come in as an expert in outsourcing. You don't have to have all of the answers. You don't even have to know exactly what your assistant is going to be doing all day. All you have to know is what work needs to get done, and we'll figure it out. And we'll come to you and say, hey, you know what? We worked with another company like yours, and they found it really valuable to use this suite of tools. Yeah. And they found it really valuable to document processes. And they found it really valuable to, share using these channels. Yeah. So we've got that expertise, and you get that institutional knowledge with us.
And then you get the lawyers, because I can all hear them in the back of my head right now, but I want it done my way.
Totally.
So it's funny because I would totally let go and say, hey, I don't care how it gets done. This is how I am with people I work with. Just get the result that we need. But lawyers are very type A, and no one can do it as well as they can. So I'm trying to break them out of that too.
Well, that's what they were trained to do. Yeah. And often that's what they're engaged for. Their clients want them to, be very detail oriented and specific and exacting. And I get that. And we're not trying to break anybody of that at all. Mm-hmm. We'll do it. We'll absolutely do it your way. But we're also going to maybe have some suggestions for alternatives or enhancements. And if you're open to them, great. And if not, also great. You're the client.
Yeah. That's good. And I am always telling people, you have to rethink your processes all the time. There's new tools out there. There's new options. And we're not experts at everything, no matter what we tell ourselves and everybody else. But yeah, how do your staff or your team communicate? Are there certain platforms that you use internally? Do you have a dashboard? Just kind of what's the model look like?
Yeah. So technically we're technology agnostic. We'll use whatever tools the client wants to use. But again, we've got some best practices. We've got some experience with this stuff. So internally, we're using Slack for real-time communication. Obviously, email's a big component, and we're Google-based, so we're in the Google environment using things like Google Docs. But we often place assistants who are Microsoft qualified or using other suites of tools. CRMs we'll use anything you've got. Obviously, Clio is a big one in the legal
Yep.
space, so we support that pretty actively. For project management and sort of basic automation stuff, we use Airtable,
Okay.
which is, super functional, almost so functional that it makes my head hurt a little bit. I mean, it's a good thing my team knows how to use it because it's super powerful, and I'm just like, I can't. But we'll come in and do whatever the client needs. If they're not using anything, uh, we have some recommendations.
Okay.
Um, if they're using, we've had some clients who say, I don't want to use Slack. you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yep.
fine. You don't have to use Slack. It's okay. There are other things in the marketplace. If you're using the Microsoft version, Microsoft Teams, that's great.
Mhm.
Google has real-time communication tools that are also great. But if you're using WhatsApp and SMS, that's not great. It's fine, but
Yeah.
not great.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. And I do, that's something I also hesitate when I come into an organization or a firm too, is trying to use technology they're at least familiar with,
Yeah.
because adding more tech tools and other changes tends to be a disaster. So that's good to hear that you're technology agnostic somewhat. Um, and then there's all kinds of other tools. I think lawyers often overlook the project management side of things that you offer and how helpful that is. You want to talk more about how the manager of your staff works?
Yeah. So there's two components. There's the technology component and there's the human
Yep.
component. From the human side, what we do is we assign a senior manager on our team to every engagement. What
Yep.
they do is they supervise the onboarding, things like getting your new assistant set up in your email system, giving them a phone number in your voice over IP system, making sure that they have the appropriate levels of permissions within the tools that you're providing to them so that they can do the work that needs to get done, but it doesn't actually compromise any of your privacy obligations, any of your other limitations that are, very real regulatory systems that are in place for a reason. Um, so we manage that whole process for you. And then on an ongoing basis, the manager is getting that end of day report every single day. So is
Okay.
the client. So you as the client are seeing this end of day report, but so is the manager, and the manager is looking at that for patterns. So
Okay.
what's not getting done here? Why is this not getting done? Are you missing some expertise? Do you need additional training? Do we need to bring in somebody, say a video editor for a few hours to supplement the assistant, because the assistant is qualified on these 25 things, but one of them is not video editing, and you all of a sudden were a guest on the Rebel, Esquire show, and so now you've got a video that you need to
Yeah.
chop up and distribute to your social channels. So the manager is playing that role, but they're also a point of contact for the client. So they're having regular, although not frequent. So
Mhm.
initially somewhat more frequent, but over time it's not a burden, the amount of face time that the manager requires, but the manager is checking in and they're
Mhm.
saying, how's it going? What can we do to improve? What areas are you not being served properly in? Is this even the right assistant for
Right.
you? Are they a cultural fit? Are they delivering the results that you want in the time frame that you want it? If not, let's explore alternatives. Let's train somebody else up so you've got some backup there. So that's really the role of the manager.
Yeah. And I've talking about like things that have gone wrong when I have had virtual assistants with both my clients and myself, is I find that we have a virtual assistant hired to do certain tasks. And then you're like, oh, it would be great if they could also do video editing, but that person has zero skills in that. And
Right.
then then the relationship goes sideways. And I think it's really important to keep that perspective of when you have all the talent that you have with a like an Ogmentor type organization, then you can pull in those different pieces without having to
That's right.
continuously hire different people to do things. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly right. And I'll also say, in addition to the variety of expertise that we've got, on the bench available to support our
Mhm.
clients when things come up, more and more AI tools are showing up that if we can train our assistants on them, they can all of a sudden pull in, a video editing AI or a graphic
Yeah.
AI or an AI that supports making slide presentations or making slide presentations pretty or animated or whatever.
Mhm.
So we're training our assistants on these tools so that they can supplement their knowledge and their functionality. And then the client doesn't have to become an expert on every AI tool, you know,
Okay. Yeah.
right? I mean,
Which is a whole other, yes. Everyone's like, now
it's a
what?
whole other
Yeah.
thing, right? I'm sure everyone on this call has been contacted 5 times in the last 2 weeks about an AI training program or a
Oh yeah.
course or a speaker about AI, whatever, and it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So like,
Well,
let your assistant deal with that.
yeah. There's too many. There, like you have so many technologies and so many things out there. And I do like the idea of having people who are experts at them, using them and working for you. And it then keeps costs down as well. Like it's still a
Right.
person working on it, but you have an AI that's helping. So it's
That's
all
right.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when someone comes to you and they've got their list that they've gone through and figured out how to outsource, or they're working on outsourcing and that kind of thing, how long does it get take to get someone up and running?
Yeah. So if all the stars are aligned, we can do it in about a week.
Okay.
So, from like, I'm ready to go to actually somebody being on your team contributing,
Okay.
1 week. Typically, it takes 2 weeks. And really, the only thing that slows it down is client availability. When are you available to spend an hour interviewing 3 candidates? So finding a time for that hour is the thing that shifts the timeline up.
Yeah.
We can usually get it done in 2 weeks. Our goal is not to overwhelm clients with a bunch of candidates that they're sifting through all this stuff. We're going to pare it down. We're going to give you 3 candidates who check all of your boxes. They do
Okay.
all of the things you need them to do. They're skilled in all of the technology that you're already using. They're available the hours that you want them to be available. And we're also trying to place for cultural fit as well.
Yeah.
So, it's a spectrum. And this is always sort of a funny thing to ask, especially attorneys. Do you want somebody at this side of the spectrum who's just going to do every single thing you say for them to do without question and without input?
Yep.
Or do you want a self starter who's going to take initiative, make suggestions, fill that time between the tasks that you assign them to do? Typically, they want somebody in the middle, right? Like, we're
Yeah.
looking for the right mix. But what you
Mhm.
don't want is a client who's thinking, I want somebody who's going to absolutely follow everything, every single instruction by the book. And then 6 months later, they're like, but this person doesn't take initiative. They finish the project and then they don't do anything. And it's like, we need to recruit for that. We need to find the person who's going to be the proper mix between giving you feedback and honestly, and I hate to say this to attorneys, but pushing back sometimes. Sometimes
Yeah.
saying, this doesn't make sense. Or this is exactly what I did, 2 weeks ago and it was wrong. Don't like you're telling me to do it again. And like, is this right? This is how you want to do it now? So,
Yeah.
we've got to find that right mix.
Um, so you have that first 2 weeks, you interview the three that you present to them, and they get someone onboarded, and you have the manager that's checking in with them every day. You get the report every day. Is there other cadence? Like, is there a bigger check-in? I'm trying to gauge time commitment for the lawyer or the owner.
Right. So that's a great question. Once you've got somebody on your team, our most successful clients meet with their assistant
Mhm.
at least 3 times a week, but
Okay.
typically every single day,
Mhm.
for 15 minutes.
Okay.
So it's not a huge time commitment. It's a daily stand up. It's whatever time makes sense for you. Some people like to do it at the start of the day. Some people like to do it at the end of the day.
Okay.
We'll we'll give you some guidance there when you start working with your assistant.
Mhm.
But it's just 15 minutes. First of all, it cements the personal relationship. So the,
Yep.
person becomes a part of your team, they become a part of your family. But also it's, where are we with this thing? What's going on with this? Where are you stuck? Like, what are you waiting for me to do?
Yep.
Right. The social media posting thing is a great example. Like, hey, I've put together a whole month of content. I need you to approve it. You're going to have to spend a little bit of time doing that.
Mhm.
So that meeting is critical. And then there's, and then there's those kinds of tasks where it's like, I need you to review this work. I need you to give me some feedback here. I need you to give me some guidance. I need you to, spend a little bit of time with me. It's not a huge time commitment,
Mhm.
but it is a little bit of a time commitment. And then you're meeting with the manager ideally once a month or every other month, just to check in, just to make sure everything is on track.
That makes sense. And I like the fact that you said it's a 15-minute meeting, because if I get one more invite on my calendar for an hour-long meeting that could have been 15 minutes, I'm going to cry. Um, because I
Yeah.
think that sets the expectation that you can have these like really short check-ins that are scheduled that don't have to be a gigantic chunk on your calendar. And I think that's, from a time management perspective, really important. So,
Yeah. Well, Jen, that, honestly, I don't use a sort of a self-calendaring tool
yeah.
like Calendly. I have a human assistant who does
Yeah.
that for me.
Uh-huh.
But the mandate is meetings should be 30 minutes or less. Like, we don't need to meet with people for an hour. And there's exceptions, obviously if you and I are going to go for lunch or something, we're not doing that in 30 minutes.
Right.
Like, let's book an appropriate length of time for lunch. And then there's other meetings where you're like, I know we're going to get deep into this thing.
Yeah.
Let's block off an hour for it. If we can get it done in 45, great, but let's have an hour available. But
Mhm.
my assistant knows that when somebody comes and says, hey, I want to book 11 to 12 Pacific time, she'll say, hey, can we schedule it for 30 minutes or does it really need to be 1 hour? And that's
Yeah.
something that, that having a human assistant gives you that kind of flexibility versus a Calendly tool, which is rigid. The Calendly tool might say, I'm sorry, only 30-minute chunks are available, or I'm sorry, every meeting must be 1 hour. But with a human, there's some back and forth.
Yeah, it's funny because I do use a scheduling tool for some things. Not all the appointments are public. I share them for specific things. And my normal meeting is like a 25-minute
Right.
block.
Right.
And then I have a deep dive that's like an hour if I know it's something that I'm going to want to dig into. So I share it based on my inclination. But yeah, I think that's really important to recognize that a meeting doesn't have to be some grand production kind of thing. So, okay. Well, I think we could go on all day, but where can people, we mentioned augmentor.com as the website. Is there any other place that people can find you? They can go there and download the book.
Yeah, so we're on all the socials,
Okay.
either as Augmentor or augmentor.va,
Okay.
for virtual assistant.
Okay.
Uh, Ideally, I mean, all of that stuff is linked from the website. The website is really the place to start. So, augmentor.com is home.
Very good. Well, I will get those put in the description and our show notes. Now, finally, on the Rebel Roundtable, we do have a Spotify playlist that's called the Rebel Roundtable Anthems. And it's basically all those songs that we listen to when we want to, rebel against society in general or pump ourselves up. So what is your anthem?
So this was a hard question, honestly, Jen. I think I started my career in the music industry.
Yep.
Live music is a big part of my everyday. I go to shows every week. In fact, my wall behind me is all Fillmore posters from shows that I've been to, over the last 30 plus years. Actually, don't even know really what I have back there. I rotate the posters around. But you challenged me to pick one pump up song. And so the song that I chose for your playlist is by Parquet Courts,
Okay.
which is a New York indie rock band. I think they've got a real punk rock ethos.
Mm-hmm.
They're rebel for sure.
Rebels. Yep.
And the song is Almost Had to Start a Fight.
That
So
could be my theme song.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, I
I have
kind of like the almost part about it too.
right,
It's like, I didn't do it, but I was gonna. Like I
but
was
I
ready
almost
to.
got.
If I had to, I would.
Well, that's fantastic. I can't wait to add that to the playlist and share that out with the audience as well. So thank you, Lael, so much for being here on the Rebel Roundtable. And I look forward to talking to you again and hopefully helping some of my clients also use your services because it's very much a needed thing these days. So thank you.
Thank you, Jen. This was lots of fun.
Yeah. And I will see everybody next Friday for the next round of the Rebel Roundtable. Have a good weekend.